I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys. We just got done recording a 50-minute long conversation about season 2 of Stranger Things, only for me to realize the microphone was not on. All of that gone. So I'm going to try and recapture the hype we had in our discussion, but we're gonna be saying the exact same things again
Yes.
twice. Okay, just letting you guys know that right up. But hello everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And this is our post-geek out reaction, the second time.
For season 2.
For season 2 of Stranger Things. Now for anybody who has not seen a post-geek out reaction, it is not a review. The reviews I sit down, think of everything I want to say, type it all out, give it a number score. In the post-geek out reaction, it's just an open, honest conversation between the two of us about the thing that we just watched, and that does include full spoilers. So, if you have not seen Stranger Things Season 2, what the hell are you doing? Because Netflix, it's not one of those things where it's like, well, I gotta get up, go to the theater and do all this. If you have Netflix, and you were looking forward to Stranger Things Season 2, you're not waiting to see what people's reaction videos are to it. You already sat down and binged the whole thing, which we tried to do that because we actually started watching it last night at 9 o'clock. We had a busy day, we couldn't get to it till 9 o'clock, and I was like, okay, we don't have a lot of time, so we'll watch like the first 4 episodes, be done around like 1 o'clock, watch the remainders the next day. We kept going and going and going, and then at 4:30 at night, episode 8 was about to wrap up, and I was like, man, how on earth are they gonna wrap it all up right now? And then it ends on that cliffhanger of 11 walking through the door. I was like, screw you for making me wait a whole other year to find out how this ends. And then episode 9 starts up, and I was just like, oh god, there's 9 episodes. There's 9 episodes a season. We didn't plan on this.
No, so we had to wait till the next day.
We waited till the next day to watch the final episode. Oh my god. And that is so hard to do with a show like this because the cliffhangers are so damn good.
Yeah.
God. And the first 2 episodes, I was like, you know what? This is good. It's really good. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it like I did last season. But the cliffhangers aren't quite as good as they were in season 1. And then episode 3 ends with the giant smoke monster going into every hole in Will's head. I was like, never mind. Complaint rescinded. Totally fine with the cliffhangers. These cliffhangers are so damn good this season. So let's go ahead and start by talking about, man, it's so hard because we did just talk about all of this. Let's go ahead and talk about the characters in here. And one thing that we noticed about the characters this season compared to the last season is that in season 1, Mike was the protagonist. And it was basically, it was following this group of friends. But Mike was definitely like the star of this group.
The leader, basically.
The leader, yeah. The one that was getting the most screen time. Like, you never saw any of the other characters by themselves. You saw Mike by himself. You saw him having one-on-one interactions with other characters. You never really saw, like, any 2 other characters interacting unless Mike was there. This season, they went, everybody's the protagonist. Every single person in here has a freaking storyline. The closest we got to that in season 1 was Nancy had the love triangle thing between Steve and Jonathan.
Yeah, but like, that doesn't really count because like, they're separate from like the group of kids.
Yeah.
They're the high schoolers, so.
Also, they were doing their complete own thing and had no idea any of this other stuff was even happening.
Yeah.
Until like the very end. So, in this one, it almost feels like Mike is getting the least screen time out of anybody. Because Mike's whole storyline is he misses 11. Everybody else has a full-blown storyline in here. Like, Lucas is in love with the new girl who just moved to town. Max. And Dustin, he wants to have this pet. Like, that's his whole thing. He's got the pet in there, and it ends up becoming its own thing. Then you also have Will. Will, again, kind of gets shafted a little bit.
Not as bad as the first season.
Like, he gets to stay in there and act. He gets to show off that he has acting abilities in this one. Yeah, it's kind of weird that in season 1, he got taken to another dimension. In this one, his body's there, but now his mind is gone. But then you also have Steve has his own storyline. And Nancy and Jonathan have their own storyline again. And then Hopper's got his thing going on. And Joyce has her thing going on.
And 11 has her own thing going on.
11 really has her own thing going on. Yeah, so I love that every single person this season got to do their own thing. And it made these characters so much better. Like, I was honestly trying to figure out if this season was better than season 1. And I think it is, which is a huge relief because you have no idea how many times something is amazing and then in the second season or in the sequel movie, they screw it all up. They can't capture that magic again. Oh my god, they totally captured the magic in this one. They totally nailed it. And I feel like in the first season, you needed to only follow one person because you needed that introduction to everything.
Right.
And by giving you one person to latch onto, it makes that easier. But now that we know everybody, now that we're getting established with them, the fact that they are able to split them all apart and make each of them grow as individual characters is what made this season so damn good. Because in season 1, everybody liked Mike because Mike's the protagonist. Everybody liked Dustin because Dustin was the fun, quirky one. I really like Lucas, but I kept looking at Lucas like, man, you have the thing where you put the bandana on and that's awesome. You got the wrist rocket. You're trying to find the like rock that you can attack this monster with. Okay, cool. I like you, but you're getting such little screen time that I don't, if you had more screen time, I would like you way more. I want to like you. I just need you to have more screen time. He has an entire storyline. It's almost like if anybody's the protagonist this season, I think he probably gets more screen time than anyone. Maybe it's just my imagination.
Maybe.
But I loved him this season. I thought that his character was so damn strong this season because he's got that whole like relationship developing with Max.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes back to Mike's relationship that was developing with 11 in the first season.
It's like, another thing I liked about the relationship with like Max is like, at first, like, it was Lucas and Dustin, like, they were starting to, like, get a crush on her, and instead of, like, fighting over her, they were just like, you know, why don't we just, like, see what happens? Like, why don't we just try to approach her, but they're so awkward that they fail at it?
The thing that makes this, I said this when we talked about season 1, the thing that makes these kids so damn good is that they're still kids, but they're really mature. Like, they found that perfect balance between mature enough that people of any age can look at them and respect them and appreciate them, but still kids, so it doesn't seem creepy the level of like mature they are, and there's still like this lovability of like, oh, they're still figuring everything out. And that moment in which they're like, the fact that these two guys both have a crush on the same person, and they don't turn that into the most played out storyline in the world of like, you like her? Well, I like her. Well, only one of us can have her. Well, fine. Oh, friendship is over now. Oh, I didn't mean to break up that friendship with you. I guess we'll come back together again on this one. I love that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
At no point is their friendship over because of this girl. Like, the closest thing they get is when they get into an argument, but the argument isn't even about Max. Like, you can read into it like, okay, Dustin's got some extra emotions about this because of what's going on. But the thing he is upset about is that Lucas told her all about what happened in the previous year. And that was the rule. You don't do that. And Dustin's like, I wanted to do it, but I didn't because I knew we're not supposed to. It was like, that's a legit thing that he could be angry about. Like that, okay, I'm not looking at this as like, you took the girl that I liked. I looked at it like, yeah, man, you hurt the friendship. Like, that was the rule. Don't do that.
Like, I like that the reason why he told her everything is because he went to his father and she was like, what happens if you like a girl but like she doesn't like you? It's like, what happens when mom is angry at you? So it's like he kind of took his father's advice, like, say sorry and give her what she wants. And it's like, okay, so this girl wants to be part of a party, but in order to do that, she must know about what happened last year, so...
Yeah, that's a really good point. Which, by the way, I gotta say, one of the things that made each of these characters far better actual characters is we got to see their own personal life. Like, we never really saw Dustin's home life. We never really got to see Lucas's home life. The fact that we actually get to meet each of their families in here... actually added so many layers to their characters. And I loved Lucas's family. I loved the little sister who's just being a pain to him. And I loved the mom who, like, when she was taking photos of him as the Ghostbuster, was like, oh yeah, pose for me. And like, she was just having a fun time with it. And I love that, like, Lucas was getting into it. Like, Lucas was like flexing, like, yeah. Oh man, I love that. But when his dad pops up, his dad has the best 70s, 80s stash out of anyone in this show. he got that role on that mustache. That mustache is on point with this decade. So yeah, I love getting to meet each and every single one of their families. And I was pointing out, we talked about this 5 minutes ago when the recording didn't work. But there's a very small, subtle thing that they did to really establish the characters even deeper, which they had the election posters outside of their house.
Yeah.
And at first when I looked at that and like they all had the Reagan Bush things outside of their house and it said 84, I was like, that's just kind of like a cheap way of like turning on and going, it's 1984. Now you know it's 1984. Ah, get it. But then when you go to Dustin's house and he's the one family with the Mondale thing out front, that was the thing that made me go, for anybody who doesn't know political history, Walter Mondale lost to Ronald Reagan in the biggest landslide in political history. And so looking at that, Dustin loses out on getting the girl at the end of this, and he's also the awkward, weird one, but he's also the smart one in the group. And a lot of people like kind of said, like, well, Mondale, he had facts on his side, but Reagan had personality on his side, so that's why he won. I was like, that's a really subtle way of establishing he's the Walter Mondale of this group. So that was just so dang smart on their part. I will admit some of the like the 80s stuff that they put in there, like with the commercials, I felt like they were trying a little too hard. Like when the television was constantly flicking between commercials, and I was like, all right, we get it, it's the 1980s.
I don't know, I felt like the Coke commercial in the first season was a bit more
I forgot about that, but yeah, that's true. But yeah, let's see. Okay, so Lucas, I absolutely love Lucas after this season, and there's a small moment in there in which, he was the guy in the first season with he had the slingshot and fighting monsters with slingshot, and he had the Rambo headband. You can tell this kid wants to be an action hero, and then there's that moment when they're looking for Dart, the little monster that Dustin has adopted, and rather than just opening the door, he does a spin kick to open the door, and I was like, that's what I like about Lucas.
And like the
Lucas wants to be the action hero.
Then he finds out there was a teacher in the room. Is like, sorry.
That's, again, they're kids. They fear adults getting them in trouble. Even though he fantasizes about being like an action hero. I was like, man, that speaks to your character so freaking much. And I love that that's why he hooks up with Max. Like, it's not like, when Max shows up, like, it's not like I'm looking at her and Lucas like, how on earth could these two get together? Max is kind of like the cool kid. Like, she's the skateboarder, she's the video game player, and Lucas is the one who wants to be an action hero. It's like, I can see the kid who wants to be an action hero hooking up with the girl who skateboards. Like, I can see that. They're both kind of like, they're both into action, basically.
Yeah, it's like, I like that Max has enough of similarities to the boys, but like not so much where she's just like them.
Yeah.
I mean, like they all like video games and stuff, but like she's into skateboarding while they're into Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, like she doesn't understand Dungeons and Dragons at all. And I kind of dug that, but like she's still like an outcast, kind of like they are. So I was like, yeah, I can see her fitting in here, and I'm glad that she fits in there because I was so worried when she popped up, because this show tries to capture so many things about the 80s, and one thing about shows from the 80s and 90s that nobody liked is that after a show had been around for a couple of seasons, they would try and spice things up by introducing the new kid. And the new kid was the cool kid. It was one that like the producers were like, this is what all the kids are into, so this is the one the kids are gonna love.
The Poochie the dog character.
Yeah, exactly. And when she pops up, and the first things we see about her is that she's from California, her brother drives the cool car, she's the high score at the arcade, and she skateboards. I was like, oh god, she's gonna be the cool kid again. No, she's just, she just likes video games and skateboarding, that's it. She is pretty rebellious, but she's rebellious because of the family she's grown up in. It's like, she isn't nearly as rebellious as like the stereotypical rebellious kid.
Yeah.
Like, again, this is a show that manages to have characters be similar to types, but never become that stereotype.
Right.
They're always something different, and Max is a perfect example of that. And also, they didn't do the thing with Max that I was also worried they would do, because a lot of time when they introduce the new character and they're like, you've got to love the new character, they will have them be the one that saves the day at the end. The point of this show and the point of this cast of characters, and especially this season, the point of it was no one person saves the day. I mean, the closest we get is 11, but even then, you needed everyone working together. but everybody contributes something. Everybody
Right.
does a thing that makes them important to the team. She's the one that gets them to the place they need to go. When no one else can drive, she's the one who drives them there, because, yeah, she's kind of the actual one. She's the zoomer, as she says. It was like, yeah, she got them there. Way to go. That's awesome. You have a role in this team, just like everybody else does. So it's like, that was the best way to introduce her, is by going, she's going to do as much as everyone else. Perfect. That's how you do it.
Yeah, another thing is Mike was very hesitant about letting her into the party. It's like, I feel like it's because like he was still holding on to 11.
That's all.
Yeah, and like another reason why is like, our party's filled is like, and he's talking about his Dungeons and Dragons party. So it's like, we don't have like a role for you. It's like, I could be the Zoomer, she says. Like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
but...
I like that he was just kind of like, it's not even a thing. It's, I will say, I kind of find that 11's relationship with Max was a little bit weird, that she was so, like, angry at Max for maybe possibly interacting with Mike. But at the same time, we have to remember, 11 isn't like normal people.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't quite understand human contact.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just glad that all she did was like make Max fall off her skateboard. Like, she could have done like way worse.
I was really worried that was going to become her supervillain origin story moment there. Yeah, I was like, don't make her evil. Don't do this.
Like, we already have like an evil psychic, yes.
Man, when this show began and it opens up in a totally different town with the cops getting into a shootout and a chase scene with this random group of people we've never seen, I was like, did they screw up and put on the wrong show? What is this? Is this the Ozarks? Is this what the Ozarks is? I've actually seen the Ozarks. It's pretty good. But yeah, when that happened, I was like, what the hell happened to this show? Until you see the 8 and the nosebleed coming off that girl, I was like, oh. I get it now. Which I gotta say, that was pretty damn impressive of them to pull something like that.
It's like, when we were like talking about our predictions for season 2, it's like, there's 11, so there has to be at least like 10 other kids who are like her, so are they
you called that. You said that they would probably pop up at some point. I knew she was called 11 because she was the 11th one, but I figured all the ones before that died.
Yeah.
Like, I did not think they were coming back. So yeah, you called that by thinking that they would actually pop up at some point. Which, speaking of them, they disappear for the majority of this show after that opening scene, and then they come back in episode 7, in which 11 actually goes to where they are, and it's in this totally different town, and the show has a totally different vibe to it in that moment.
It doesn't even feel like a Stranger Things episode.
Doesn't feel like it all. But, like, every single member of her party has their own unique look, unique name, unique role on the team, own personality to them. Like when they're talking about the big guy and going, he's a teddy bear, and he's like, oh, it's very nice to meet you. I was like, okay, yeah, he's definitely his thing. And like, then you got the crazy guy over there who looks like he came out of like a Guilty Gear fighting game with the mohawk on. And you've got all them, and then they stop and go, we have been chasing down all the people who did us wrong, going from place to place. I was like, I know what you're doing here. You're pitching a spin-off. I know exactly what this is. And they don't even like say, this is what our mission is, to go around and find the people who did us wrong, going from person to person. They even keep going, like in that one episode, not even in any of the other episodes, but in that one episode they keep going, Papa, the guy who tormented you, he's still alive. No, he's not. He's dead. No, he's totally still alive. He's definitely still alive. We know he's alive. He's totally alive. I was like, this is your pitch for your season. You chasing those guys down, and then you gotta find Papa, and he's still alive, and he's still running everything behind the scenes. Yeah, man, you are pitching your own TV show here. I know exactly what you're doing in this moment, but I would totally watch that TV show.
I was thinking like, maybe like in future seasons of Stranger Things, like all of the psychic kids like eventually like come together, like all 11, or maybe they might make another one.
That's the thing. You mentioned a moment when we were doing this, you said like, okay, I can see 1 through 11 come in, and that's when I realized, no. The big reveal isn't when we get 1 through 11. The big reveal is when we get 12.
Yeah.
That's the big like twist.
Yeah,
that's
so it's
coming
like, I think it'd be like really awesome if like all the numbers like got together and like finally like sealed away the upside down world forever, and like obviously Papa has something to do with it, so like maybe they'll like seal him away in there, maybe.
Oh, he gets possessed. Oh, he gets possessed by the Mind Flayer because we see the Mind Flayer fly up at the end.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I really do think they brought back the whole D&D naming thing.
Yeah.
Because that's like their way of, it's the way that these kids interpret this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, totally get that's why these kids are able to understand this, because I think that Hopper was kind of the voice of a lot of the naysayers out there, and when he came in here, it was like, it's just a stupid kids game. This isn't actually going to help you. But like, dude, I understand why they do it. This is crazy far out there ideas that nobody understands. This is the best way that they can like understand, that they can comprehend it. And Dustin even turns to him and basically says that. So it was kind of like the moment in which the people making the show turned to the audience who criticized them for that and said, this is exactly the reason why we're doing this. I'm like, yeah, good, fine. Tell those people. Which, that's another thing that I gotta say about this. This season really feels to me like the creators looked at the complaints people had about season 1 and made sure to go, we're going to address all of this.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Barb is a major part of this.
Right.
Because when I talked about season 1, I said that I get why people were upset about Barb. Because, yeah, Will disappears and everybody freaks out. Barb disappears, they talk about it for an episode and then it's never brought up ever again. So it's like, yeah, it's totally like BS that like nobody cared about her and she was kind of just killed off just to kind of like show the stakes of the situation and to give other characters motivation. But I love that they actually like stopped and like had like her like basically turn to the camera. Nancy basically turned to the camera and goes, she died and no one cared. It's like she never existed. And I was like, wow, you just straight up even admitted to your own problems there. I'm pretty impressed. But then they actually have like, that's Nancy's arc throughout this. Nancy and Jonathan have to find a way to bring justice for Barb.
And explain it in a way that isn't completely insane.
Man. One thing that ticks me off about conspiracy theorists in TV shows and movies is that they're so often like, if I blow the lid off on this, then everyone will see. It's like, no, they won't. Because so often the thing you're trying to reveal is so insane, no one would think it's real. I love that, the fact that there is a conspiracy theorist in this town, because if there's a secret government organization 2 blocks over and they're doing weird, crazy stuff, eventually there'd be a conspiracy theorist in your town. It'd be insane for there to not be one in your town. But I love that after he hears about what's been going on, he then just has to go, no one will believe this. Like, he has the tape of them admitting to this stuff, and even he's like, I want to get these people in trouble. I want to get them out of our town. Everyone will laugh at this and think you're freaking insane. Everyone will think you're crazy about this. I went, oh my god, even the conspiracy theorists are smart in this show. Everyone is written capable in this show. There is no like just loser character in here. I love that so much about this. The fact that they are actually willing to think about these characters. Let me see.
Yeah, like he basically tells them to like water down the truth, because it's like I feel like another reason why like Nancy is so obsessed with finding Barbara is because she wants to give her parents closure.
Yeah, which says a lot of great stuff about Nancy. But again, it's like Barb's parents are the fans.
Yeah,
Barb's parents are the people who they're turning to like, don't worry, we're taking care of this. We got this all handled.
Like they hired a detective and he's just like milking them dry of their money. That's why they're selling their house. It's like, we can't let them do this to them. Yeah. They have to find out the truth. That's
them turning to the audience going, we're milking them dry on all this Barb merchandise. We have to give them an answer. Man, I talked about this in our season 1 thing, but it's like, I get the people being upset about Barb and the whole justice for Barb thing, but like I feel like it got a mind of its own and got too crazy, because every single Halloween we get the Halloween loot boxes, because I always enjoy the stuff that comes in those, and this year the big like extra large loot box that you can get, the Stranger Things item that comes in there is a Barb towel. It's just a towel with Barb's face in there. Going, oh my god, guys. Barb's great. It's wonderful. There's other things to put on a giant fucking towel. Oh my god. So, yeah, that was kind of like my breaking point, which I was like, I get it, but be cool already, guys. That battle is over with. But I like that they actually had that be a thing in here, which was like, no, we were going to address the fact. And they didn't address it in a way that was like, oh, fans, oh, well, you didn't believe us, but we knew we'd get back to it. No, they address it by flat out having her say, it's weird that, like, no one talked about. Like, she flat out admits to the problem with the first season. Mm-hmm. And that happens again in here after Lucas reveals everything that happened to Max. And Max goes, I loved it. Sure, it was a little derivative in times. I mean, I could see the stuff that you were stealing from. And I was like, that was the exact complaint that some people had with season 1. And it's incredible to me that they actually put that in here in a way that actually made it feel like an appropriate place for someone to address that. They actually found an excuse for people to put that complaint in the show. These are people who are not afraid to listen to their critics and try and improve based upon that.
Yeah, like with Winona Ryder's characters, like a lot of people complained that she was just screaming and crying in the first season. It's like, of course, her son is missing.
Her son isn't just missing.
Dead, possibly dead.
She can see him through a goo wall forming in her apartment with a demon behind him trying to kill him. You mean to tell me she wouldn't be like, that was like, I've defended Joyce so hard in season 1 to all the people out there like, oh, all she does is just scream and cry. I was like, I'm sorry, and you would take your son being trapped in a demon dimension with demogorgons perfectly fine? You'd be okay with that? Like, no, she acted naturally to that.
Yeah, and like, I'm glad like they gave her like a more important role, I guess you could say, in the second season. Like, she's more involved.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. She stepped up in the first season. She did a lot of stuff in the first season. Yeah. But in this season, it was like, all right, I ain't fucking around. This ain't happening again.
Right.
Enough is enough. I mean, all right, let's go into like a new one of the new characters in here that we haven't talked about, because he has a lot to do with Joyce. Bob.
That's gonna be the new. That's gonna be the new thing. Justice for Bob.
I was about to say. Barb's gotten her answer. Give me some fucking Bob stuff. Now, I'll take a towel with Bob's face on it.
Honestly, Bob did way more than Barbara did. I hate saying that.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons people were upset with Barb is because she was created just to be killed off. And that is such a trope with female characters. I mean, it's the whole term of, you know, the Phrygian character, in which is like you take a female character and you kill them just so that way you can show the stakes and show like the impact it has on other characters. Bob at least got like an arc. Bob got to do stuff. But man, Bob's whole character is he's the nicest guy on earth. That's his whole thing. He is just that nice of a guy. And he was so nice, I kept looking at that dude like, it's going to be revealed he works for the secret government organization. That's what it is. I know it's going to be revealed that that's what he does. I feel so bad for doubting Bob. Bob, man, oh.
It's just like the way he was introduced is like, he just shows up out of nowhere and just starts making out with Joyce. I'm like, what the heck happened between Hopper and Joyce?
Yeah, you ship Joyce and Hopper so hard that to you, this was basically like someone taking away your toy and giving you a new toy. It's like, you love this one, right? It's like, no, I want that one over there.
It's like they actually like spent time together to develop a relationship. You don't see that with Bob.
Bob is just showing up, yeah. I love Bob. I'll totally admit, yeah, and then he just pops up in here.
Yeah, it's like, so like that really threw me off, and like he was being a dork, but like eventually he grew on me. It's like, oh, he really is a nice guy. It's like, maybe it's best if Joyce like got together with Bob instead of Hopper, because Hopper has like so much crap he has to deal with.
Hopper's got some issues. We'll get to him in a second.
Yeah, but then like eventually he's like, oh yeah, he's gonna die off. He's too nice.
He's too nice, and also he's the guy who goes on the mission.
Yeah, like he's called Bob the Brain, and it's like, yeah, he's like the tech savvy guy.
Yeah, which he worked at Radio Shack, and I love that back in the 80s, Radio Shack was like the genius bar at an Apple store. It's like, yeah, man, electronics were such a new thing. You needed to actually know this stuff. But yeah, Bob is there. Is so nice. And at first he's nice in that goofy way. In fact, they introduce it perfectly in which like they go to the video store and they go like, you don't want to be normal. Normal people watch Mr. Mom, and then Bob pops up, Mr. Mom, I love that show. And then they're watching it and then he's just laughing at every single line.
No, it's like, you don't want to be normal. It's like, would you rather hang out with Bowie or Kenny Rogers?
Yeah, and then he pops up and goes, Kenny Rogers? I love Kenny Rogers. But I like that right after that scene, Will had just been talking about how everyone treats him differently. And he says that he actually likes Bob because Bob's the one guy who treats him the same as everyone else. And you see Bob trying to actually bond with this guy. But like, you kept getting that feeling from Bob. He was going to be that guy who was so nice that he can't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And his advice will actually hurt. Kind of what we saw happen with Will. And it was like, man, when he's telling that story about how he kept having the nightmares, but then when they turned to his nightmare and said, go away, and then he never had that nightmare again. And you see, like, Will starts thinking about that when he's running from the big monster. And then he turns around and goes, go away, go away, go away. And then the monster's like, all right.
It's like, yeah, sometimes you just can't stand
Sometimes
up.
you gotta run.
Yeah, I mean, like, that stuff works, like, if it's in your mind, but, like, if
But that's the thing. I think that at that point, Will kept thinking it wasn't his mind.
That's the thing. Like, a lot of the doctors, they're just like, oh, it's an episode. He's having post-traumatic stress disorder. It's just in his mind. You just have to ignore it, and it'll get better. It's like, so it's like.
That was one thing that I was wondering, though. Back in the 80s, was it called post-traumatic stress disorder? Because I didn't think that term started until the 90s.
Like, I think it was still a new thing at the time. Cause, like,
I mean, it was a condition, but I mean,
but, like,
that condition has had 4 different names in its lifespan. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that was a great moment to kind of like set up, like, oh, Bob, you and your dumb advice, you don't understand this. But then when he shows up after Will has been like, you know, he can't get out of bed because of what's happening, and he shows up with just all these puzzles they brought, and you know, when I was sick, these brain teasers is what got me through it. Man, I always used to love these, and I was like, this is not his kid, this is not his family, but he still wants to help, and that is the thing that makes Bob good. Bob isn't trying to be a nice guy. Bob is a nice guy, and because he's a nice guy, he's trying to help, and he tries so hard. And it's because he's a smart guy that he's able to figure out this big crazy ass map.
Yeah.
It's insane to me that it's like, you set that up. This is not like some magic ability he got. It was been set up since the first episode that like he is a smart guy and he does puzzles and stuff. It's like, man, the way that he was able to figure that out, that's when I started like loving this guy. But you saw him like just, even after he learns all the crazy secrets about this family, he's in there. He wants to help. He's there to be a part of this family. I was like, God, this guy is going above and beyond the Call of Duty. And when it gets to that point where someone has to program in code to a computer, and he goes in there, he even gets a hero moment. Like, we heard him talking about how he like kind of like wanted to be a superhero like earlier on. Like, you get to see him have that superhero moment where he goes down there and he actually helps save the day. Oh my goodness. And it was in that moment which I was like, he's dead.
Yeah.
He ain't coming back. And they knew the best way to like set that up. Like, first off, the scene of him like running from the Dimmadog, which I kind of wish they had named it something differently, because every time that I say Dimmadog, I want to say Dimmadog of the Dimsdale Dimmadome. When you saw him running down that hallway, which first off, I gotta say, there's like 3 episodes in here that have stunning shots of people running down hallways. I gotta see if each of those episodes were directed by the same person. But there's that one moment after he gets there, and he closes the door, and I was like, he turns around and he sees Joyce over there, and she's standing by the door, and like, he made it. And you see that look on his face, and I'm like, he did it. And then the camera held on him for a second too long, and then I went, God damn it.
You knew.
And man, I kept hoping something was gonna save him, but no, he died. And I love that was like the last straw for Joyce.
Yeah.
Because all throughout this, I love that realization when they realized they had been giving him cold stuff because the monster inside him just liked the cold. It didn't want the hot. And it came to that realization where it's like, we've been feeding it. We've been giving it what it wants. We have to like finally try and burn it out of him. And there's that moment which like, you know, Joyce is going to be the one that cracks. She can't, this entire season, she's been protecting her son. She hasn't let him go out of her sight. She has been so worried about him, and understandably so. Understandable.
Like, she just lost her boyfriend. She almost lost her son.
Yeah. But
she was about to lose her son again. It's like, fuck no.
Yeah, exactly. All throughout this, we had been seeing her like, she couldn't like bear the thought of anything bad happening to Will or Will being in pain. And then it gets to that moment in which like she's seeing it screaming there and like being tormented, and you're like, she's gonna snap, and then it flashes back to that dance she had with Bob, and she's like, get out of my son. I was like, you go, Joyce. God damn, Joyce, you are so good. So yeah, that moment of her actually like fighting to get this thing out of her son, it was great because it showed that like she is tired of this thing messing with her life and messing with her kid, and even if it means her kid being caused pain, she will save her kid's life to get this monster out of there. Which the smoke monster like flies out of him there at the end, and I'm wondering, did it die when the gate got closed? Or is that gonna possibly come back and be a thing? Because I guarantee you, nobody out there thought the slug he coughed up at the end of season 1 was going to now be a thing.
Yeah, you mentioned like maybe the smoke monster like got into like Papa or.
I would be impressed if like that was like a villain from a future season. Like yeah, when we were talking about this before, I said like that could be a thing that pops up in the spin-off show because Papa is going to be the villain of the spin-off show. Like that's why they specifically kept mentioning him in the spin-off pitch episode. I could see like that monster pop up over there in that series. Like maybe like Papa like finds a way to find this thing and capture it and use it in some way. So yeah, I figured the smoke monster will probably return. And we talked about how the effects, the one like small thing that people were going to complain about is I know people were going to say, well, the effects don't look good. We're totally fine with the effects because it's a TV show, and to me, effects aren't that important in a TV show. In a movie, yeah, man, you need to be able to try with what you have, and oftentimes in movies, the effects are the big appeal of it. In a TV show, the effects are there to add stuff on. So yeah, I didn't care if the effects didn't look that great, but the moment in which he is like having that thing come out of him and the veins are just going up, that's one of the creepiest shots in this entire season. So let's see. I think we've talked about everybody. One last thing to say about Bob. We mentioned that we hated that Bob had to die, but like, these guys are such geniuses at emotional manipulation. I'm getting hiccups again, sorry. These guys are such geniuses at emotional manipulation. They knew if we give you a nice guy and kill him, that would hurt. But giving you a nice guy in a role that will force you to hate him only to then make you love him just so we can take him away would be so much more painful. These guys are geniuses at emotional manipulation. I mean, you see that with like every single character in here. But the only character we haven't really talked about, and speaking of emotional manipulation, is Hopper. And I loved Hopper in season 1 because I thought he had the best arc of any character. In season 2, he's still got an arc, but it's more of like character exploration for him. It's not about character development. It's more of just, this is who he is.
And this is
Let's
why.
expand it. Yeah. And I love that he was the best dad in this show because he was screwed up. And I've always kind of said, that's the thing you have to understand about parents. They're just people. They're people who are trying to figure out how to do the best with what they can. They're trying to figure out a way to protect you, another living thing, while they're just a person themselves, trying to understand what's going on.
It's like, Hopper at least tries. Like Mike's dad was like a deadbeat. And
Mike's dad sucks so hard.
And Billy and Max's dad is an abusive asshole.
Yeah.
So it's like, we actually have a good father figure here. He might...
Dustin's dad is gone. The second best dad in this show is Lucas's dad because he gives him one piece of advice and is never seen again.
Also, that mustache.
That stash. That's actually maybe kind of want to shave and like just get a mustache, but I was like, I can't rock a mustache. I've tried. But yeah, I think he's the best dad because he's the most realistic dad because he's trying and he's just a very fucked up person. But he's trying to work through who he is as a person. And also, like, he's not just like, he's got this all-powerful living weapon in his cabin. He's not trying to treat it not as a child. He still tells it, real food first, then dessert. And when he gets into an argument with it, it's like, all right, fine, no TV for a week. And I love that she freaked out at that because that's the only interaction she gets with anything. Like, it wasn't like normal child freak out, no, my TV. It was, she does not have any connection to anybody. This is the closest she gets. And he goes, all right, fine, 2 weeks. All right,
like,
fine,
not
you
only
like
that, but it's like this TV static helps her like communicate with Mike.
Yeah. But then when he like actually ripped the cord apart so they can never watch TV again, I was like, that's a dad move.
Yeah.
That is the like, fine, still want to play? All things off the table. Done. Can't even play anymore. It's like, god damn. But like just seeing the thing that makes me also say like he's the best dad isn't just that like he captures that feeling of being like a messed up person who cares. It's just that he keeps trying with her. He keeps working hard to try and connect with her. I was like, man, that at the end of the day, that's the best you can ask for from a parent. Just someone who is willing to keep trying. And it's like, all right, he is that guy. So I love seeing that in here. And the very end of this, when he gets like the birth certificate and Jane's got her his last name, like, man, he got his daughter back. He got a daughter finally. Man, that's so freaking touching. Anything else to say about Hopper? I will say that, speaking of Hopper, I really kept thinking constantly, he's going to die.
Yeah, especially like when he was digging into that vine.
Yeah, the only thought in the back of my head saying he's not gonna die when we were watching him with the vines all around him. Only reason why I didn't think he was going to die was because I was like, this show's too hot and he's way too popular of a character. They're not going to do that. But then I remembered, oh my god, he got cast as Hellboy. He's got an entire like movie trilogy franchise now he's going to be working on. He doesn't need Stranger Things anymore. He's going to probably try and get out of this contract. He could actually die. And so to see him like survive that, man, I was holding my breath all throughout that because they killed off Bob so that Joyce could be with Hopper. I was literally looking at that moment like, did they create Bob just so Joyce would have someone to hook up with when they kill Hopper? Like, I literally was like, that's how they're going to solve this love triangle. They're just going to kill Hopper. Oh my god, no.
Like even though I ship Joyce and Hopper, like, part of me wanted her to hook up with Bob because he's so normal.
Yeah, and
Hopper
it feels like
is
you
kind
need
of
that.
Yeah, it's like they need some stability and normalcy after all the things that have been going on in their life and the family.
Yeah, and also when Bob was talking about moving up to Maine, I was kind of like, well, Will got taken off the table season 1. Season 2 kind of also still off the table. Are they just going to move him away for season 3 so that way he's gone forever now? Because that would just be kind of a dick move. But I could see them doing that. Speaking of Will, we haven't really talked about, but I kept saying I wanted to see him do more because I wanted to see him like get the attention that the other characters did. And yeah, he's possessed by a mind flayer this whole time.
At least he's on screen.
But he's on screen and he's showing us he can act.
Yes.
He's showing us he can do more than shiver in a corner and listen to a song. Which the fact that they brought that song back for this, that was perfect. They brought that back in just the perfect way. It's amazing to me that there were so many things in here that were references to the previous season. But again, to build, to expand, to add to their characters. The whole thing is they had to like connect with Will and find Will inside this monster and bring him out. If they didn't play that song, it would be a waste. The only one plot hole that I can really see, like, kind of question is, how did Will know Morse code?
He's a nerd.
Yeah, it's one of those words, like, it's not a big problem, but it is kind of convenient that he happened to know it, but it's not something that I could look at and be like, well, there's no way he would know that. It was just more like, oh, that's convenient. It's like, but I could see it's happening.
You mentioned plot hole. I thought you were talking about the demodog in the fridge.
Yeah, Barb isn't the only one who got fridged. Yeah, that seemed like it should have come back. That really felt odd to me that they have Dustin shove the demodog in this fridge because it's a valuable scientific discovery and we need to make sure that it's preserved, which fits Dustin's character. I like that Dustin continues to point out he's the science guy. I love that he puts him in the fridge and then it never comes back. Like, I love that they put him in the fridge, but I was like, okay, now what's going to happen? And then it cuts to a month later. I was like, if this got to the next day, I could see something happening. They've definitely gone their fridge within the last month. Something happened. What happened with it?
Like, I don't know. I thought like the cold was gonna bring the demodog back to life. Because,
I thought that too.
Yeah, because they said like when the monster possessed Will's body, it's like he likes it cold.
Yeah, and we also saw that when Dart was little and tiny, he didn't want to go out in the sunlight. When Bobby, Max's brother, comes up. And he comes up in there to just beat ass. Billy, sorry. When he comes in to just go nuts and just like start ripping them all apart. I thought like when he grabbed Lucas and was shoving him up against the wall and was like, I'm gonna kill you, I thought the Demodog was gonna burst out of that fridge and attack him. But it would have felt a little too convenient for that to be the way to take Billy out. And I like what they did way more because it adds a lot to Max's character.
Right.
And also to Steve. Like, Steve stood up to the guy. Got his ass kicked, but he stood up to him. But yeah, I like that Max was able to, like, outthink him. Like, if you can't beat that guy, no one in that town can beat Billy. Billy's a monster. There was that moment when Billy said, don't call her that, when someone referred to her as his sister. And the reveal is that it's his stepsister. Mm-hmm. I thought the reveal was going to be that it's like, he's actually like 30 years old and that's his daughter or something.
I thought like maybe like he just knocked up a girl in high school and that's like their kid or something.
That's exactly what I said, yeah.
Oh, well, it's like, I thought you meant like, okay, yeah. Like...
Yeah, I don't mean like they're married and he has a wife back home or something. It's like, no, I figure like, yeah, that's his daughter from like something in high school. But I kept thinking like, okay, for that to happen, he's got to be like almost 30 years old. But you look at this guy and the way that he's built is like, I could see the big reveal being that he's actually 30 years old. I could see that happening. Because yeah, this dude is one of the scariest damn boys I've seen in a show. Because he's not too extreme, but he's extreme enough to make you go, yeah, he's kind of a monster. He's kind of a rotten piece of crap. And I mean, when they give him the origin story of like why he's that way when you see his dad, I was kind of like, that's a little bit Stephen King-ish to me, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, it works. It makes sense, so I'm fine with that. And his dad was creepy as hell too.
Yeah.
Which out of all the characters in here and all the characters I absolutely love, I cannot wait to see what is going to happen to Billy in season 3. Because when you look at the change that Steve went through from season 1 to season 2, the people working on this show know how to take characters and expand on them and make them grow and develop and mature and change from season to season, but in very natural ways. So if we saw what happened to Steve, I can't wait to see what's going to happen to Billy. But speaking of Steve, man, Steve, I think, has the best progression of any character from one season to the next.
Like, he went from like stereotypical 80s douchebag popular guy to like an actually cool guy who wants to like just watch over the kids and make sure everybody's okay.
There's that line in there in which he says, I might have been a crappy boyfriend, but I'm a damn good babysitter. He's a damn good babysitter. He's got a point.
And it's like, and I like how he maturely accepted the fact that Nancy and Jonathan have a thing, like they have better connection than she does with him. He's like, okay, I understand.
Yeah, this show had three-way love, what do you call those?
Love triangles?
Love triangles. This show had 3 love triangles in it. And the only one, and every single one of them addressed it maturely. Like every single one of them, the people all acted like accordingly and maturely with one another. Like I love that moment in which Bob and Hopper, like after they just slayed a monster, and Hopper like comes up and like hugs Joyce, he then turns around, hey Bob, hey Hopper. Like they both are just like, hey. Like both of them are like, yeah, we kind of know what's up. I was like, all right, we're just dealing with that. But then like, you know, we mentioned the way the kids deal with the love triangle, very mature for their age, or for any age, honestly. And then, yeah, when Steve hears Nancy drunk at the party telling him that she doesn't love him, he doesn't like go back into douchebag mode from last season. He doesn't go back and like start like trying to slut shame her like he did last season. He's like, oh, well.
Yeah. It's like, I've always hated the fighting love triangle bullshit.
And it's such a crappy like don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the real world. I'm just saying, dude, it happens way too much in movies and television shows. So if you're going to do it, be mature about it. Like, try something different.
Please.
Have characters talk to each other.
Yes, communication. It's not just important in a romantic relationship, but like also like friend-wise and family-wise too. Like
that's why I love people talk in this show. But yeah, Steve with that baseball bat throughout the rest of this, I'm like, God, he has become like the new action star of this thing. Like, seeing him, like, him being that, if he was that way with the way that he was in season 1, it'd be like, this guy, he's still just a douchebag. But because he's such a, like, I'm not even gonna say good, but he has grown so much, and he's earned that growth, that when you see him with that baseball bat, you're like, that's a hero right there. That's a guy I'm willing to root for. That's a guy who I'm willing to see, like, smack some Demodogs around. But I mentioned I thought Hopper was going to die. I thought Steve was dead when he went out there at like the train station or like the abandoned like car lot. He went out there to like confront the Dimmadog there. I thought he was dead in that moment. I thought he was going to die in the tunnels as well at the end of this thing. I'm glad only one guy died in here. I'm sad it was Bob. But I would have been sad no matter who it was. So I'm glad that it's like, okay, we did the one death to let you know we're not screwing around. We will kill characters off. But we're not going to destroy your heart all at once.
We only kill off characters whose names begin with the letter B. There's Benny, Barbara, and Bob.
I forgot Benny. We're gonna have to look for that next season because that is a trend.
Like, oh shit, is Billy gonna die next season? Oh
my god.
Oh.
That actually could happen. I could see that. Like, because everybody kind of gets a little bit of a redemption arc no matter how troubled and screwed up they are. I could see him like saving Max at one point and he dies because of that. It's like, oh damn. Anybody else? I will say, when we were watching this and the names were popping up, Paul Reiser. When Sean Astin popped up, I was like, oh really? Oh dude. Oh okay, that's pretty cool they got him in there. And when Paul Reiser popped up, I went, like from Mad About You, like stand-up comedian from the 80s, Paul? No. There's another Paul Reiser out there. This isn't the same Paul Reiser. And Paul Reiser pops up in here, and Paul Reiser was known for being one of those comedians in the 80s who just played himself. Whenever he was in a thing, he was just himself. Like, he had that one role in Aliens, and aside from that, he's just been Paul Reiser in everything. And he pops up in here, he's like, no, I can act. I'm actually capable of doing other things. Like, Paul Reiser is the kind of comedian who, if you dropped him into a very tense and stressful situation, he would take away from that situation. He adds to it here. I mean, I didn't even think he was going to be a good guy until episode 9. Until episode 6. Okay, I'll say that. The one where Bob died. It wasn't until episode 6 that I was like, he is on their side. Because, like, he's working for the evil government organization. They're still doing weird, shady stuff. He's making that weird veiled threat to Nancy about why they have to be doing all this and why they can't reveal the truth. I think he's going to be a bad guy. I think he's totally going to be a bad guy. And then he's there trying to help them all out. It's revealed that him being nice to Will, it's not like him just playing that up for the parents. No, he actually is nice to Will.
And it's like,
he actually cares.
Yeah, it's so, like, after, like, the first season, we're like, oh, the government people are big, bad, evil guys. It's like, it's nice to see someone who actually cares and wants to help. It's nice to see a doctor who wants their patients to be healthy and happy and not just, like, use them for experiments.
Yeah, I mean, I get the appeal and I get all the backstory and stuff that goes into the whole idea of the big bad government guy out there. Mm-hmm. But if everybody in the government is like that, it's like, all right, guys, come on. Come on, you gotta give some more, like, variety to your characters. So having all the people at this government research lab being new people that they brought in because the last guys were so evil, they're like, we gotta actually get good people on this.
Like the meeting, like when they're discussing to defeat the Mind Flayer, it's like, if the Mind Flayer dies, Will might die too, and I don't want to risk that.
That moment in which that one guy was basically just like, hey man, meat and potatoes, just the faction situation. If he dies, so what? And then he just goes, say that to me again. And I was like, now I know you good. Like, that was the moment in which I was like, there's no ulterior motive to this guy. He's on our side. Go Paul Reiser. Man, if you had told me that in 2017, I would be uttering the phrase, Paul Reiser is one of my favorite things about this horror Netflix series. Not something I ever thought I would say. Not something I expected to come out of my mouth. Oh, speaking of one other thing, I forgot to mention this the last time that we recorded 10 minutes ago. So I'm glad we got to redo this. But one thing I want to point out, you remember that scene in Avengers where Tony Stark goes, that guy's playing Galaga? Didn't think we'd all notice. And then at the end of it, he goes into space and there's a giant spaceship formation and it's the same formation from Galaga. And everybody kind of pointed at like, oh, they tried to warn us with that. I kept pointing at Dig Dug for that exact same purpose. Because the whole thing about this is they're trapped in tunnels under the ground with monsters that they have to go and stop. It's Dig Dug. All I could think was...
like, one of the episodes wasn't even named Dig Dug.
That was the moment in which I was like, this is not a coincidence. The fact that the episode when they go underground is named Dig Dug That's the one which I was like, I'm not reading into this. This is what they planned. This was on purpose.
Was that the same episode where Lucas talked to Max because she thought the Dig Dug arcade game was broken?
That's why I'm like, okay, this was done on purpose, but they didn't want to come right out and tell you it was done on purpose. So they named the episode Dig Dug after the Dig Dug machine, but at the same time, Hopper is trapped underground. Yeah, man, I'm not making this up. This was definitely intentional. I am definitely not reading way too much into this. Yeah, I thought that was just such a smart thing. It makes me want to go back to the previous season and see, like, were there any games they were playing in that one that could tie into this?
No, I don't think they had games because they just bought an Atari.
You're
so,
right.
Yeah.
But it did make me go, he mentioned at least I still have the high score on Dig Dug and Centipede. There's now a giant spider monster in there. Is it gonna turn into a giant like snake monster floating through the air? And there, like, could that have been like a little hint? At that point, I'll admit I'm probably reading too much into this, but the Dig Dug thing was intentional. That was a great setup. Is there anything else we want to talk about? I think we have finally covered all the stuff that we covered.
Like, how do you feel about 8? Like the.
I liked her.
Yes.
She's very different, but at the same time, I understand why she's different from 11, because when 11 was kidnapped, she was a baby. She was a newborn. She never got taught anything. 8 was definitely abducted when she was old enough to form memories. Well, old enough that she could remember being in the Rainbow Room and stuff like that. In fact, like, 11, she had trouble escaping on her own. 8 was old enough when she went in there that she was able to figure out how to escape on her own. So yeah, honestly, I like her. In fact, in all honesty, I kind of like everybody in that crew. Because, like I said, they all have personalities, they all have roles on the team. I really dug that when they introduced everybody on the team, they told them all what their role was. I was like, this is like the D&D group.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It's like an older version. Like.
Yeah, the older illegal version of it. I will just go ahead and say, though, Fox, you can go ahead and cancel that New Mutants movie that you're working on, because this Stranger Things spinoff that they're working on, set in the 80s, a bunch of kids, one of them's got weird psychic powers, they're going around trying to stop these government agents. It's basically the street level X-Men, all right? Man, they even have code names, okay? And they all have costumes as well. I love that the guy who they were like, he's a teddy bear, his mask is a Care Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not making that up. They are definitely planning a spinoff. I am totally sure of that. I really want to watch that spinoff. So yeah, is there anything else? I feel like there's something we mentioned last time that I'm forgetting. I'll probably remember it as soon as we are done, but God, this show, it's so rare that something is so good and then the next season doesn't screw it up. In fact, they actually build it and make it better. We didn't really talk about Mike much, but as I said, Mike, I kind of dug that his character this season was, Mike is supposed to be like the average one, the one who's the most like realistic character, and I dig that he's now the rebellious one. He's the one who, like, even after he knows 11 came back and 11 is okay, he's still just kind of like, Mom, I don't want to take pictures, okay? And it's like, he's becoming a teenager.
Yeah. There was also that fight with Hopper. It's like, why did you keep her from me?
That was so touching.
Yeah.
And again, it speaks to Hopper's character so much, because Hopper was pissed at the kid. Hopper's like, okay, you didn't understand, but it's like, he just hugs the kid, because he's like, all right, Hopper's got problems, but he's gonna try to be there for people. I think that one scene speaks to Hopper on so many levels. Which, again, when they went down in that giant tunnel into hell, which looked great, people want to talk about the effects on the show, they saved it for that. That looked good. When they go down that giant tunnel, again, I was like, this is when Hopper dies. I know it. Thank God it didn't happen. Didn't happen. I also like that when he gets the birth certificate and he's like, when is it going to be okay to take her out? And he goes, a year. They might as well turn to the camera and went, see you next season.
No, it's like, here we go again.
I also like that he dug into that sandwich like he was like, no, I'm trying to watch my weight. He's like, I have to wait a year.
Stress eating.
Yeah, immediately to stress eating. What if Bob was like really thin before he started dating Joyce, and now it's like, oh, Joyce is kind of the one who's like encouraging like stress eating people.
All the shit her family has to go through. I don't blame them.
Shit, actually, if that was true, Jonathan would be huge. Because yeah, man, no one's gonna blame you for stress eating in these situations.
I like how there's even like a part where he's like, "Oh, I got all this candy here. Do you want to join me? Get fat?" Like.
That was, I love, again, it's like, man, just the way that he speaks about this stuff is like, man, it's touching. It really is. And the fact that he's like able to take that candy and build like a giant Ego statue. It's like, that's a dad. He's trying, man. He's really trying. Like, I've always said the thing that defines parents is, the thing that defines a good parent is they don't know what they're doing, but they try. That describes Hopper to a T, all right? So, man, I really want to keep talking about, but we've said all this stuff twice already.
Yeah.
And also, I think we've now said everything.
Yeah, we pretty much. I mean, anything else is just like not really necessary.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, man, go watch the show. Like, enjoy yourself. You've already seen it at this point. I do want to know what happened to Dustin's turtle, though.
Oh yeah, that's another plot hole.
He took that out of the cage to make room for Dart, and then we never saw what happened to it again.
It's like, I hate saying this, like, but maybe Dart ate him like he did with the cat.
I really hope that he couldn't do that. Like, that his turtle got inside the shell in time. Because I don't want to see that happen to that. Yeah, man. Okay, here's one last thing that we'll go out on. So often shows like this, you binge watch them, and then when you get to the end of the season, you're like, I need more. I need more. I feel full. I feel like they gave me exactly as much as I need. And the cliffhanger there is enough to make me go, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. But there's enough resolution to make me go, like I'm not unsatisfied. Like, well, you didn't answer this thing. Aside from like what happened to the Dimmadog in the fridge. Although I have a feeling that will come back in season 3. Like they have to study something from this world to understand it. And then it's revealed that like, he's got a freezer down in the basement that he's been keeping this thing in the whole time. So yeah, man, I also hope that Paul Reiser returns next season. Because they need like I hope he becomes just like a town doctor, because you know he got fired from the government after this. You know he's not working for their facility anymore. So yeah, I hope he just becomes the town doctor. Okay, so yeah, I feel full. I feel like this show like really filled me up. This, I don't know if it's a perfect 10, but it's close. It's a 9.5 if it's not a 10. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you want to check us out anywhere else on the web, you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. And this has been part of our 31 Days of Thorgyween, where every single day we've been talking about, spotlight, and reviewing something spooky. And if you enjoy these, then check around the channel, because like I said, we've been doing this all month long. So thank you guys for tuning in. Come back next time. Happy Halloween.
Bye.
Bye.